Welcome to the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce podcast, your weekly update of business news and issues from around Cumbria. Find out how we support new business and help existing businesses to grow and flourish at cumbriachamber.co.uk. Now here's the Chamber's Business Engagement Manager, Julian Whittle, with this week's episode.
Hello, I'm here with Julia Walker, the Charity Development Manager with Lake District Mobility, to talk about how businesses can better cater for disabled customers. Julia, it's a huge opportunity for businesses, isn't it?
Yes,
because,
it is.
You know, the spending power of disabled people with the so-called purple pound is enormous. Give me some of the stats.
In tourism, the marketing comprises of 13 million people for the purple pound, and it's worth 12.1 billion. And 8.5 billion of that are day visitors. And the one thing with the purple pound is that people with accessibility needs return more often, they spend more money, and they stay places for longer. So you've got a customer for life.
So I think the crucial figure there was that 13 million. There are 13 million people with some sort of disability.
The biggest thing is that people think of people in wheelchairs, and it's not. That's only 10% of people with disabilities. And so people thinking it is people in wheelchairs, it creates a us and them kind of atmosphere. And actually, it's everybody has different needs.
I mean, a rather less impressive stat that I've also seen is that 3/4 of disabled people and their families have left a shop or other business because of poor customer service or lack of disability awareness. Now, the charity you work for helps people with limited mobility to enjoy the Lake District. Tell me a bit more about how that works.
So we provide outdoor businesses and attractions with all-terrain vehicles. That's a mobility scooter souped up so that people with limited mobility, from asthma to a permanent disability, can get out with their family friends if it's around the forest or around the lake or around the grounds of your business. So yes, that is one big way that you can help people with disabilities is lease a vehicle from us.
So from your experience, what sort of difficulties do disabled people typically face when they're travelling around, staying in accommodation or visiting shops and attractions?
So I can give you a few examples. The biggest thing that I can think that businesses can change very quickly is that people don't know what's out there. They don't know what the accessibility of a business is, because businesses want to have a very professional look, and they don't put their accessibility needs on their website. So the first thing that people have difficulties with is their website, because they don't know what's available. Even trying to look for it on their website, they very often can't find it because it's very low in the website. A few examples of what people find difficult in a big way. Currently, there is no changing places in the national park. Changing places are disabled toilets that are bigger, that have an adult hoist and changing table on it. So the 250,000 people that live in Britain that need them can't come into the Lake District at the moment. It is currently changing, and there are a few being made as we speak. But that's a whole 250,000 people that can't even use the national park at this moment.
Right.
And then it's down to smaller things like there was a business that I went to audit, and they had a gate where the accessibility ramp was, and it was locked. And I said to the manager, why is it locked? And they said, well, if we leave it open, the queue for the cafe goes in a different direction and we don't like it. And I said to her, well, how does a person... they'll just have to yell and hope that someone's free. Now, if someone's never been in a wheelchair before, they might not fully understand how humiliating that is. I would recommend anybody that wants to understand from a wheelchair user point of view, even though you can only get a glimpse, is just take a wheelchair and use it round a shop. IKEA, Tesco's, anywhere like that. And it will build your understanding of how frustrating it is, because you want to do things by yourself. And obviously this lady didn't have the understanding, so she wasn't being purposely mean. She just didn't have the understanding that actually having a locked gate meant that people were locked out of their business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's worth making the point. I mean, you were alluding to this a minute ago, that disability can take many forms. I mean, I think Marks and Spencer has put up signs in its toilets saying not every disability is visible. Can you expand on that?
I can, and if you don't mind me saying of personal circumstances, so I've had my pelvis fused, and there would be times where before that I'd be in great pain and I couldn't walk very far, but to look at me you wouldn't be able to tell there was anything wrong with me. So for me to get to somewhere and get back again, it would cause me more pain. So to be able to use a disabled toilet that is closer, to be able to have who I needed in there to care for me, but no one would have been able to see from the outside. Another instant is people with mental health needs. So if you have anxiety and you're in a shop and you have to drop the trolley, stop what you're doing, sometimes because the disabled toilet is a bigger atmosphere, you can go in there, have a rest, and start again, instead of leaving your shopping, going home and feeling distraught that you couldn't manage it. So there is many forms of why a disabled toilet needs to be there, and it needs to be there for many people.
Now, the Equality Act 2010 sets out the legal responsibilities of businesses towards disabled staff and customers. What does this say?
This means that a business should make reasonable adjustment so that people with disabilities aren't discriminated. And they mean this by, as in, they aren't allowed to use their service just because they have a disability. So a business has to make reasonable adjustment to be able to allow them to use their service.
So give me an example of what might be a reasonable adjustment then.
A reasonable adjustment would be if you can't have a ramp outside your shop all the time because of people going past.
Yeah.
The reasonable adjustment would be that there is a doorbell there so that you can gain staff's get their notice, then they can bring the ramp out for you and you can gain access.
I'm with you, yeah.
Or you can go round the back and use a more safer place to gain access. But obviously at all times try and use the same entrance that everybody else uses.
Yeah, so there really is a lot of common sense, I suppose, in interpreting that. So let's look at some of the things businesses can do, starting with an accessibility audit. What is that, and why should a business conduct one?
So there's two ways you can do an audit. There's one on your website and one that you can do with your physical buildings and your grounds.
Yeah.
So when it comes to websites, it's really easy to do. There's many businesses on the internet that can do this audit for you. One of them is the Short Trust, and their first stage is free. So a really easy way of knowing what you could make better for people on your website to make it easier for more people to gain your services is to do a website audit. Just to illustrate, a website audit is so that people that have different disabilities, if it's dyslexia, are partially blind, have hearing difficulties, it means that your website is looked through thoroughly, and it means that everybody can gain access to the website. So from things like making sure that pictures have words with them, have videos, have subtitles to them, that people can change the formats, and they can use their aids on your website so they can gain all the information from it.
Okay.
The next stage is for your building or your grounds to have an access audit. There is several places that do this. One of them is Tourism for All, and they will come out to you and do the audit. And it means that they can give you tips on what you need to do. That can be the smallest things, from a bell to be able to bring out a ramp, to doing changing places, to doing what your business needs. Because for many businesses and for everybody, we're all learning all of the time, so we're not expected to know everything. But they can very easily give you very reasonable things to do that you can do very quickly.
What about staff training? Because I know employees can be scared of unintentionally offending a disabled person by saying or doing the wrong thing.
Yes, I think this is really important, because I think even if you work or have had a disability, you can still be afraid making a mistake. And so I think training is one of the most crucial things you can do. So you can do training from going on a course and having a business come in and give training to all your staff. So Access for All UK, they come in and do training days for staff. So if you've got a big employer base, then you can have all your staff trained at once. Now, if you're a small business, that's really difficult to do. So there is many accessibility training days that you can send. If you just send one of your employees on it, it means that they can tell everybody else about what they've done and can be that champion at your workplace.
I know some businesses use disabled mystery shoppers to test how well they are meeting the needs of disabled customers. Is that a good idea? Is that worthwhile, do you think, Julie?
Yes, I think there's many ways of doing this. That is definitely one of them, and it'd be very easy to find people that would want to be able to do that for you, and that's if that's going to a disability forum near you. There is many sources that you can to gain those people that can do those mystery shoppers. Another good way of doing it that I've seen in the past is having a day every year where you put big posters outside saying, "Do we meet your needs?" And you're inviting people to say, no, it'd be really convenient if you could have had a hearing loop at your desk. And so many people with disabilities, they don't want to be treated specially, but if you invite them to give comments, they will be thrilled to be able to give you little tips and hints, and it means that you'll become aware of things that you weren't aware of before.
What about signage? That's another important one, isn't it?
Yes, very, very important. I have dyslexia myself, and reading things is very hard work. So you need to make it as easy as possible. So the basic ones is font size, not putting writing over the top of pictures. Yeah. And another thing is try not make your font too fancy, because people want to be able to see it, read it, and want to use your service because they've seen it.
Okay, now when it comes to making physical adaptation, I think there's an assumption sometimes these are going to cost a lot of money, but that's not always the case, is it? I mean, I believe an induction loop for a hotel reception could cost as little as £130. So what else, in terms of these physical adaptations, should businesses consider?
There is hearing loops. That is one of the best ways to start making your business more accessible. There are portable hearing loops. I would definitely recommend a permanent one for your reception. But if you want to be able to go to different places like a restaurant or to be able to make other reception areas in your business. So yeah, that's another one you can do. A doorbell at your front door. So people that can't get an access immediately can gain your attention. There is many things that you can do. There is, if you're a hotel, you can buy vibrating pillows, so that if someone has a hearing impairment, they know that the fire alarm has gone off.
Oh, right. I never knew that.
And they are very, they are not a lot of, but it can make a massive difference. And then you can advertise that, and then someone can come to your hotel with the confidence that you have a plan for when that alarm goes off. They've been made aware. You can go and get them. You can put what's called a personal emergency plan in, and they just have that confidence to be with you and stay with you for as long as they want, but they don't have to worry about extra things.
Are there any grants available to help businesses make adaptations?
I would always turn to your council first for funding, because they have people that have they know all the different, what's happening at the moment, so they'll know about all the different funding bodies, but they'll know what the funding bodies are wanting to progress. So council, I would definitely say.
Is that district council or county council?
Both. I would go for district first, and then in Cumbria I would go to the Cumbria Community Foundation. Even if they don't think you should apply, they could give you the advice of where next to go, but I would definitely go to them. And also Cumbria CVS, they are excellent. They can put in what your company's wants are, and then they can reel off the different funding bodies that you can apply to, and obviously help you with that as well. Okay.
Now, what about marketing materials? I'm thinking in particular websites. What are the pitfalls that businesses need to be aware of here?
So sorry to go over things again, but the biggest thing is the size of the text. So it should always be 14, and it should be the font of at least like Arial, so it's nice and clear.
Yeah.
Then there is other things that you can do of making sure that the writing is dark on a light background, and if possible not bright white, because that helps people with dyslexia. And then use subtitles wherever you can on videos. And also try and put in the description of your photographs describe the picture, so people using an aid that can't see will be read that out to them, so they'll know what the picture is, and it'll give them a bigger feel for your website.
Is there anything else businesses should be doing?
So I think a really, really great thing that any business can do is every year a date in a diary. And that's if you don't have an AGM, but if you have an AGM, is always have on the agenda, what can we do next to include more people? So always have on the agenda, what can we do next, and make sure that that's done by the end of the year. So if it's buying a hearing loop, and make sure it's installed properly by the end of the year, making sure a carpenter comes to measure for a ramp, so you can have that, but always make sure that there's a completion to it.
And is it worth looking at best practice in other businesses to see what you might be able to copy? I mean, I think, for example, Sainsbury's have the Sunflower Lanyard scheme. Tell me how that one works.
So the Sunflower Lanyard scheme that's done by Sainsbury's, that's also the Co-op does as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is going to take off over more businesses, and means that you can wear a lanyard as the person with the disability, and that staff that have been trained in disability will look at you and know that you want help. So if you're in difficulty, they'll be able to be confident to come up to you and say, can I help you? It doesn't mean that they'll pest you, but it means that they will be aware of that you want their help in different circumstances. And you can actually get these on Amazon. So hopefully this is something that's going to take off, because that's giving the person with a disability the independent to want that help, and I think that's fantastic.
I know some businesses have sensory days or autism hours where they actually modify the business environment. How does that work?
This is fantastic. So a cinema will have a screening for autism or for different accessibility needs. So, for instance, the film will be on quieter, there will be staff on hand to help, or it might be that it's a time where people can be as noisy as they like in a different circumstance, and people don't have to be worried that their child's making those noises. It can be also to a normal cafe having an hour for dementia, so they know that in that hour people are invited that have dementia, and that lots of things are put in place to help that person with dementia. For example, people with dementia, they don't always aware of the age that they're at, so they might think they're 30 years younger. So if they go into the toilet, it's very important that the mirror's not there, because they don't want to go to the toilet and get shocked. So it's all those things that are put in place so that they can feel calm and not have unexpected surprises.
Okay, well, finally, Julia, I know we've been focusing on what businesses can do to cater better for disabled customers, but what about employing disabled staff? Because that figure we were talking about earlier, 13 million disabled people in the UK, that's a very large potential workforce. And in Cumbria, we've got a particular issue because our working age population is shrinking and employers are finding it harder to recruit. So what can employers do to make their workplaces more disabled friendly?
That's a really important fact, because 19% of the working age is disabled or have accessibility needs, and even though we can't say exactly of what the effect it has on a business, everybody says that if you employ someone with different abilities and different talents and different personalities, that a workforce is a more caring workforce. So therefore, if someone comes in with a disability, they're put at ease because that working staff have more of an understanding. So all in all, the workforce and some more friendly atmosphere. For example, I was brought up in a hotel, and my mum employed a lady called Lisa, and she had Down syndrome. Now, I learnt so many things off Lisa, of how to do things, and my mum said that her staff were just a more caring staff because Lisa was there. And I think it says a lot for your service and your business if you do that.
What is the Disability Confidence Scheme, and why should employers sign up for it?
So this is run by the Job Centre, and it's to become more aware and understanding of all the different disabilities that are out there. So the more that you understand, the more that you can adapt for people to be able to come, and it means that you've got a way of employing people. For instance, if you have a disability where you find telephones difficult, but part of the interview stage is to be done by telephone, you are going to miss out an amount of people that you wouldn't know that were there, but could have been excellent with emails, could be excellent with your website. So it's about opening your eyes to the different ways of doing things to make your interview process and your workplace more inclusive.
Okay, now where can businesses find out more about the issues we've been discussing? Are there any websites you'd recommend?
So my top two websites would be Access for All UK, that will come and give training for your staff, or you can go to a day for training. And the other would be Visit Britain, an accessibility guide, because it will explain every single thing that you need, from the smallest things that you can do without a cost to the biggest things, and it just starts you on a journey to be able to make your business more friendly to more people.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce podcast. You can find out more about how we're supporting Cumbrian businesses at cumbriachamber.co.uk and cumbriagrowthhub.co.uk. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening, and we'll have another episode for you next week.